Greetings, everyone. DFG here, guys. I hope you're having a good afternoon. Just want to take a few minutes and I want to approach the subject again around racial disparity that we're all confronted with uh, in the United States. And I do say racial disparity, in other words, white privilege versus black oppression, in the country. And I know, many of you guys, have heard me talk about these things before. And I know that some of you guys will probably say, well, there he goes, crying in his beer, so to speak. And I will say to you, no, I'm not crying in my beer. What I am really trying to do is plead to you for the saving of your own souls. And I know many of many of you guys reject that notion that somehow or another your soul is intertwined with the past history of your ancestors, never understanding that according to Scripture, there is no question about it that your souls are intertwined with the sins of your ancestors, especially if the advantages that you have today connects directly to the advantages that they took from others through white privilege over the past 400 or 500 years. I'm going to share a video with you. I'm only going to show you like a 6-7 minute clip at the end of this particular message. Some of you guys have seen the video because I shared it on other social media outlets. So I'm not going to share it in its entirety, but I think it's important for you to review it at least one more time and listen to it, carefully. Listen to it critically. Glean from it. See what you can take away from it. But in the meantime, before I get to that, I just want to, again, bring the subject back up to you, bring it forward to you. Because the scripture told us that for a season that, the world will be blind to the truth, who the people of Yah is. All right? You were blind. Your ancestors, to some degree, were blind. They weren't blind to the hatred that they perpetuated, on the darker races around the world, and in particular, the so-called, blacks or Negroes here in the Americas, from South America all the way up to the top of North America. They weren't particularly ignorant to that, and that includes the Caribbean islands, I might add. They weren't ignorant to what they were doing. They just were ignorant to maybe who they were doing it to. Not much difference that you will read in the book of Exodus, when Pharaoh, after Joseph died, and a new Pharaoh came into power, and he was threatened by the Hebrews in Goshen and the cities around him. He said, well, let's put bondage on them. Let's enslave them in case they get with our enemies and side with our enemies, and then they overthrow our government, our system of government. And from that point forward, for 400 years, they went on to perpetuate some of the most violent, most vicious, racism, enslavement, torture, genocide, probably known second to the history of the last 400 years of genocide. That was the first, and according to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, about 63 on up, really sooner than that, about 45 on up, it talks about, it happening again. And it did happen again, and it has happened again. And you're looking at one of the almost 40 million, Hebrews that are right here in America, that it was done to our ancestors. And we're still here among you from your ancestors. And many of you still refuse to acknowledge the wickedness and the sins of the past. You'll still say that was a long time ago. I had nothing to do with it. My question to you, are you benefiting from the things that happened a long time ago from the past? Or have those things given you any privilege, any advantage in this country? I think you would have to say yes, it has. And then when we bring it up, you accuse us of living in the past. But we're not living in the past when we talk about Washington or Jefferson. We're not living in the past when we talk about 9/11. Or we're not living in the past when we talk about the Holocaust. It's only living in the past through your privileged mindset. Because in your privilege, you feel that you have a right to determine what's the past and what's not the past. See, in your privilege, although you claim you have no privilege, you decide the winners and the losers. What's good, what's not good. What is historical fact, what isn't historical fact. What should we study versus what we're not going to even discuss, not even have a conversation about, like reparations for the descendants of slaves here in America. So your privilege allows you the privilege of making laws that benefit you at your convenience. And it could be detrimental, like the mass prison industrial complex or the Joe Biden law, the 3-strike rule, the Clinton bill. you know, with the very intention of enslaving people of color, men in particular, so-called Negroes, Hebrew Israelites. Now I'll give you a quick example. You look at the state of Louisiana. Angola Penitentiary, right here in Louisiana, has 65 million prisoners. I didn't exaggerate. Can you imagine? That's bigger than cities around the country. That penitentiary has 65 million people in that, and 90% of them are black, so-called Negro African Americans. Who put them there, and why are they there? And many of them are there for the same crimes that many whites have committed, but because of your privilege that you claim you don't have, you got to go home, and they got sent upstate. So when we talk about privilege, let's talk about this intelligently. Let's not pretend like somehow or another there is no such thing as white privilege. White privilege is everywhere you go, all around you. You'll hear this guy talk about a guy getting shot down the street for going into a vacant house that was under construction and jogging, and saying that that would have never happened if he was not, a black man. Why? Why would that have happened? Because of white privilege. The police would have never stood there and stared and looked you right in the eye, looked all of us in the eye through that camera, killing a black man, George Floyd, with no conscience, no guilt, no nothing, just stoic, just right there looking, just like that. In other words, I want you to see me do. I want you to see me slaughter this animal, because that's what he thought. That's how he saw us. And many of you were white privileged. You're still living in the Constitution of the United States, the Declaration of Independence. And you say, well, how are you saying that, DFG? Very easy. It's still written in your Constitution. We didn't write it. White privilege got to write the Constitution of the United States, the Declaration of Independence. White privilege gave you the privilege to do that and to live by it and talk about it even to this very day. Your First Amendment right, especially your Second Amendment rights, right? That's all your white privilege, because your white ancestors, who you claim you had nothing to do with, you invoke them whenever you want to have your liberties or your freedom here in America. How odd is that? You have nothing to do with your ancestors, but you have everything to do with the laws of the land that your ancestors wrote. And to a large degree, against my ancestors. You say, well, how you said it? Well, we know how you said it. I mean, it took your ancestors through their white privilege, 150 some odd years ago, a little more, give or take, to say that my ancestors didn't have to be enslaved to your ancestors. That wasn't 400 or 500 years ago. How about Jim Crow laws, vagrant laws, segregation laws, right? Redlining. You heard all these were your white privileged grandfathers and some of your fathers, depending on your age, who invoked those laws through their white privilege that you say you never had. You don't know anything about it. Because why? You get to choose what's valid in the past and what's not going to be validated in the past. So your history is valid. My history is invalid. Why? Because of your white privilege. So your white privilege gives you the right in your white privilege society to determine what is good and what is evil. So your evil is good because you have the white privilege to say that it's good. And my good is evil because I'm only saying make right the wrongs that you've done to my people. That's all I'm saying. I'm not asking for you to go in your particular pocket. I'm not asking you to go give me a part of our people a part of your paycheck. None of us are. So you want to make it personal because that's the only way that you can become indignant. We never asked the white guy, poor white guy down the street to give us reparations. Matter of fact, we didn't ask the rich guy uptown to give us reparations. We said the government of the United States that benefited from the slaves, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the toil of our ancestors, that the government of the United States needed to give us and pay us reparations. That's who we said. But you weren't hearing us because you don't have to hear us. Why? Because of your white privilege. So your white privilege says that you can decide what you're going to listen to and what you're not going to listen to. What you're going to act on based off of what you hear and what you're not going to act on based off of what you hear. See, that's your white privilege that you deny that you have. Yet that power that's been given to you, passed down from your ancestors who you deny that you don't know anything about, had nothing to do with. See, that power that was passed down from generation to generation to generation, that you exercise whenever you want to exercise it. See, that privilege that you don't have. But yet, you know you have it. You know you have it. You know you have it. Most of you wouldn't trade one day inside of a black body with the oppression that you would have to be confronted with. Why? Because white privilege means you'll never get treated like the black man. Right? If someone tried to treat you like a black man, if white men try to treat you like a black man, you make sure, hey, I'm not a black man. Don't treat me like that. And I could use the N word, but we don't have to use that right now. Okay? We're going to hold off on that. Because I just want you to think about it. And I'm not going to get to the video. You've seen the video, so you don't need to hear it again. But he told you that the Roman Catholic Church was the perpetuators of world slavery. Christianity used in the form of a white Jesus as their image, their mascot, which is a lie, to perpetuate. That's why many of these Latin countries, South American countries are Catholics, still under the curse of their oppression from their oppressors. You didn't know that, but it's true. So many of you who are still practicing Catholicism, you're practicing the religion of the oppressors who came to your land, raped, pillaged, stole, robbed, and slaughtered your people. And what they gave you back was religion. There's a saying: when the white man went into Africa, the white man had the gold, and the white man had the Bible. The black man had the gold, and the white man had the Bible. When the white man left Africa, he had the gold, and the black man had the Bible. Nothing wrong with the word of Yah, but that's the trickery. And he only taught him the lying part of the scripture. He didn't tell him who he was. Just like he haven't told many of us. But these are the last days, and Yah said in the last days knowledge would be increased. And you would know. This white guy in that video, he's telling them they're going to be without excuse. They're going to hear his very words at their judgment. At the time of their passing, at the time of their death, Yahweh is going to bring that back to the forefront of their mind, and they're not going to be able to say anything. Why? Because they refuse to let the people of Yahweh go. Now let me give you a couple of pieces of verses where I can. I'm going to try to make this fast. First, I want to go to the Constitution of the United States. Okay? And this is Article 1, the Constitution, Paragraph 3. Representative and direct taxes shall be appointed among several states which may be included in this union, according to the representative numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons, whites, including those bound to service for a term of 10 years, those indentured service, and including Indians not taxed, and 3/5 of all other people, meaning my people. 3/5 of a human being. You didn't even see us as people. Even when your forefathers, who you invoke the Constitution, anytime someone violates your constitutional rights, you invoke this document, yet you never acknowledge what's said in this document about my people, and you claim you have nothing to do with what your people did, but yet you still live by the laws and enact those laws from what your people wrote. Now I'm going to bring this thing to a close. I got 1 minute 15 seconds. This is Exodus chapter 9 from the book. And then Yahuwah said unto Moses, go tell Pharaoh, the king, Trump, the president, tell him, thus says Yahweh Elohim, let my people go that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go and you continue to hold them down, behold, the hand of Yahweh is upon your cattle, which is in the field, upon your horses, upon your asses, upon your camels, upon your oxen, upon your sheep. There shall be a very grievous pestilence, and Yahweh shall sever between the cattle in Israel and the cattle of Egypt, and shall nothing live, and all of the children, all the things that you have will be destroyed. Go back and read it for yourself. That's Exodus chapter 9 to verse 5. This plague that you see going on right now, this economic crash, boom, disaster that's happening right now, this is judgment. Your eyes have been opened. You know the truth. Yahweh saying right now, restore these people what you owe them, free these people from their oppression, or deal with the consequences or the hand of Yah. Talk to you later, guys. Bye now.